I stood at the edge of my family's Silicon Valley estate, my hands clenched so tightly my nails bit into my palms. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine from the manicured gardens, but all I could feel was the sting of their words. "You're a disgrace to the Bennett name, Claire," my father had just declared, his voice booming across the dining room like a judge delivering a verdict. My mother's lips pursed in that familiar way, her eyes flicking to the crystal chandelier above as if it could shield her from the embarrassment of my existence. Ethan, my older brother, leaned back in his chair, smirking, while Olivia, my younger sister, toyed with her pearls, her smile sharp enough to cut glass. They were all here, gathered in this $20 million 0-cents modernist mansion featured in Vogue, ready to cast me out, and I let them. For now, the circular driveway stretched before me, lined with Ethan's sleek Porsche and Olivia's Range Rover, their polished exteriors mocking my beat-up Prius, parked at the far end like an afterthought. The house loomed behind me, its glass walls reflecting the golden California sunset, a monument to the Bennett legacy, wealth, status, power. My father, Charles Bennett, had built a fortune as a venture capitalist, betting on tech giants before they were giants. My mother, Victoria, a Stanford alumna, ruled Silicon Valley's social scene with an iron grip, her charity galas the stuff of legend. Ethan, 35, was the heir apparent, a COO at a rival tech firm with a corner office and a fiancé from the Wright family. Olivia, 27, was the darling, her blonde curls and Yale degree paving her path to a politician's arm candy. And then there was me, Claire, 30, the middle child, the glitch in their perfect system. They'd always seen me as the odd one out. While Ethan counted stock options and Olivia practiced her debutante smile, I was 13, hunched over a second-hand laptop in my Palo Alto bedroom, coding my first app, a clunky game that crashed half the time but lit my world on fire. "Computers are for boys who can't play sports," my father once sneered, catching me at 2 a.m. debugging code, and certainly no career for a Bennett. My mother's concern was more aesthetic. "Claire, darling, those screens will ruin your complexion. How will you find a suitable husband?" Their words were a chorus I'd heard my whole life, each note designed to remind me I didn't belong. Tonight was no different. The annual Bennett family dinner was a ritual of performance, a stage where Ethan and Olivia shone and I was the understudy nobody wanted. I smoothed my simple black dress, Zara, not the Dior I could afford, and checked my phone. Silent as I'd instructed Rachel, my COO, unless it was life or meth. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the gauntlet of condescension I knew awaited inside. The heavy glass door swung open before I could knock, revealing Maria, our housekeeper of 15 years, her warm smile a fleeting oasis. "Miss Claire, you're here," she said, taking the $30 0-cents bottle of Cabernet I'd brought, deliberately cheap compared to the $500 0-cents bottles in my Marin County penthouse. "They're in the atrium, drinks already started." I nodded, handing her the wine. "Everyone here?" I asked, though I knew the answer. Maria's eyes softened with pity. "Yes, ma'am. Your brother's sharing his latest triumph." Of course he was. I forced a smile and stepped into the atrium, a glass-walled cathedral of wealth with views of the rolling hills. The room buzzed with the clink of crystal and the low hum of self-congratulation. My father stood by the marble fireplace, scotch in hand, holding court. My mother arranged canapes with the precision of a surgeon, her navy Oscar de la Renta dress screaming new money. Ethan gestured animatedly, his Rolex glinting, while Olivia nodded, her pink sheath dress and pearls straight out of a J. Crew catalog. The only surprise was Aunt Margaret, my father's sister, a renegade AI professor who rarely graced these events, her colorful scarf a rebellion against the room's monochrome elegance. "Claire, "You finally made it," my mother announced, her tone implying I was hours late when I was precisely on time. Victoria Bennett, 60 but looking 45 thanks to Botox and a skincare regimen that cost more than my first car, barely glanced at me. "Hello, Mother," I said, enduring her air kiss. "Traffic from San Francisco was brutal." She waved a hand. "You really should move closer, dear. There are lovely condos in Palo Alto, far more suitable." Before I could respond, my father's voice cut through. "There's our little coder," he said, raising his tumbler, his jovial tone laced with disdain. "Still tinkering with those computers?" I crossed to kiss his cheek, ignoring the jab. "Something like that, Dad." Ethan swooped in, reeking of Creed cologne and privilege. "Baby sis," he said, his handshake too firm, "just telling everyone about my new role. COO now, 20 direct reports, office overlooking the bay, but I'm sure you're, app making? That's rewarding too." Olivia completed the welcome gauntlet, her smile saccharine. "Claire, the dress is so practical, perfect for someone in your position." Only Aunt Margaret offered genuine warmth, crossing the room to hug me. "Ignore them," she whispered. "How are you really holding up?" I squeezed her hand, grateful for the lifeline. The pre-dinner ritual unfolded like a scripted play. My mother handed out drinks, white wine for the women, scotch for the men, as if we were trapped in a 1950s ad. Ethan dominated with tales of his latest merger, my father nodding approvingly. Olivia gushed about her wedding plans, name-dropping her fiancé's senator mentor and their 400-guest list. I sipped my wine, nodding at the right moments, my mind drifting to the boardroom battles I'd fought that week. Nobody asked about my life, and I didn't offer. Why would I? They'd decided years ago that my tech hobby was a dead end. High school had been my first battlefield. At a private academy in Menlo Park, I aced math and physics, leading the robotics team to nationals. My parents showed up once, when Ethan needed a ride to a debate tournament. My perfect SAT math score earned a distracted, "That's nice, Claire." Olivia's cheerleading trophies warranted catered dinners. My coding awards got nothing. When college came, they mapped my future. Stanford Business School, then a consulting gig until I married into the right family. I chose Stanford's computer science program instead, earning a full scholarship. "Engineering?" my father had laughed. "That's for people who work for people like us." My mother was horrified. "All your friends are at Yale or Dartmouth. Who will you meet at Stanford's tech labs?" I graduated with a 4, but my parents were in Napa for Olivia's engagement party. Aunt Margaret was there, cheering louder than anyone. Post-college, I joined a San Francisco startup, earning $70,000, 0 cents, a pittance next to Ethan's 6-figure bonuses. Family dinners became a firing squad. "Claire's still finding herself," my mother would say, as if I were backpacking in Bali instead of grinding 80-hour weeks. "All that education for a coder's salary," my father quipped at Thanksgiving. Olivia's backhanded compliments were the worst. "It's so brave how you don't care about status, Claire. I could never be that free-spirited." Endured it all, biding my time, learning the startup game. Failure as fuel, disruption as currency. 2 years ago, at 28, I saw the problem that changed everything. Patients were dying waiting months for specialist consults, while doctors' schedules were a mess of inefficiencies. The healthcare system was stuck in the dial-up era, and people suffered for it. My cramped Oakland apartment, fueled by coffee and rage, I sketched MediConnect, a HIPAA-compliant platform using AI to match patients with specialists in hours, not months, with secure video calls and real-time medical record sharing. I poured $100,000, 0 cents, every cent I'd saved, into a prototype, risking everything. For 6 months, I worked my day job and coded at night, my eyes burning, my bank account screaming. The first danger came early. A rival firm, backed by Ethan's mentor, hacked our servers, nearly stealing our AI algorithms. I spent 72 hours straight rewriting code, my fingers trembling as I fortified our defenses, knowing one slip could end us. Investors were another battle. Male VCs smirked through my pitches, one suggesting I find a male co-founder to inspire confidence. Another offered $1 million, 0 cents for 60% equity, a deal that would have gutted my control. I walked away, heart pounding, knowing I'd nearly lost everything. Then came Laura Chen, a former healthcare CEO who saw what I saw. Her $500,000 0 cents seed investment let me quit my job and hire 5 people, including Rachel Kim, a healthcare operations genius who became my COO. "This isn't just software," Rachel said in her interview. "This is saving lives." Our first office was a sweltering San Francisco loft, no AC, borrowed laptops, and instant noodles for dinner. When a disgruntled engineer leaked our beta code to a competitor, I rebuilt it overnight, my vision blurring from exhaustion, the threat of collapse looming. The FDA piled on, launching a surprise audit of our AI, demanding proof of compliance in 48 hours. I led the team through a sleepless marathon, presenting data to stone-faced regulators, my future hanging by a thread. Then came the breakthrough. Stanford Medical Center piloted MediConnect, slashing wait times by 75% and boosting specialist efficiency by 40%. Hospitals signed on. Series A brought $10 million, Series B $50 million, 0 cents, valuing us at $150 million, 0 cents. We moved to a sleek San Francisco office, 50 employees strong. But I told my family nothing. They thought I was still a low-level coder, scraping by. I let them. Tonight, as I sat in the atrium, their dismissal felt sharper than ever. My father's voice boomed again, signaling an announcement. The room fell silent, even Olivia pausing her wedding monologue. "Your mother and I have revisited the family trust," he began, swirling his scotch. "With Ethan's rise to COO and Olivia's wedding, it's time to reallocate resources." My mother nodded, her expression rehearsed. "The Bennett name demands excellence," my father continued. "Choices that uphold our legacy." My stomach twisted. I knew what was coming. Ethan would get the keys to the VC fund, Olivia the Napa Vineyard, and me? "Claire," he said, his eyes cold, "we're cutting you off. Completely. Effective immediately." The words hit like a punch. I hadn't touched their money since college, but the public shaming burned. "The trust is for those who contribute to our standing," my father added. "Your tech hobby doesn't qualify." Ethan chimed in, his tone patronizing. "It's about reputation, Claire. Your choices drag us down." Olivia's smile was venomous. "It's not personal, Claire. We just want you to aim higher." I opened my mouth, my voice steady despite the rage. "You mean abandon my career for something you deem worthy?" "Like what, marrying a senator?" My mother gasped. "Don't be dramatic, Claire. We're helping you course correct before you're 35 with nothing to show." My phone buzzed in my purse. Once, twice, 3 times. Rachel's emergency signal. I ignored it, focusing on the fight. "You've never asked what I do," I said. "Not once. You decided it was worthless because it wasn't your version of success." My father leaned forward. "This isn't punishment, Claire. It's motivation. Time to make adult choices." My phone buzzed again, relentless. Aunt Margaret whispered, "Answer it. Sounds urgent." I hesitated, then pulled it out, seeing Rachel's name. My father sighed. "Of course, a startup emergency. Can't wait until dessert." I stepped back, still in the room, and answered. "Rachel, what's happening?" Her voice rang out clear enough for all to hear. "Claire, CEO, I've been trying you for hours. Sequoia Capital's in for $75 million, 0 cents. MediConnect's valued at $250 million, 0 cents pre-IPO. Google Health wants a partnership, and Forbes is confirmed for Monday Billionaires to Be feature." The room froze. My mother's wine glass stalled mid-air. Ethan's smirk vanished. Olivia's mouth gaped. My father's frown morphed into shock. Rachel kept going, oblivious. "Oh, and the Hospital Association wants you as their keynote," the CEO called himself. I watched their faces shift. Disdain to disbelief, calculation to envy. "Thank you, Rachel," I said, my voice calm. "Schedule a team meeting for 8 a.m. tomorrow." I hung up and sat, letting the silence choke them. Aunt Margaret laughed, raising her glass. "To Claire, apparently the most successful Bennett in the room." My mother recovered first, her voice syrupy. "Darling, why didn't you tell us? This is incredible." My father's eyes narrowed, recalculating. $250 million, 0 cents, for your app? MediaConnect, I corrected. "And yes, with Goldman Sachs leading our IPO. Your firm, Dad." Ethan sputtered. "Goldman? You're working with David Klein's team?" "David, personally," I said, naming his rival. "He believes in our vision." Olivia, desperate to pivot, gushed. "This is amazing, Claire. I always knew you were smart with that tech stuff." I raised an eyebrow. "Did you? That's not what you said an hour ago." My phone buzzed again. A text from Rachel. "TechCrunch wants an exclusive on the Sequoia deal. Deadline tonight." My mother noticed my watch, a rose gold Cartier I'd bought after Series B. "Is that Cartier?" "Last year's model," I said. "And this dress, it's not Zara, is it?" "Chanel," I admitted. I'd dress down for family dinners. The implication landed like a grenade. I'd been hiding my empire, my penthouse, my Tesla, all to avoid their judgment. My father cleared his throat. "Claire, clearly we misjudged. Let's revisit the trust discussion." I cut him off. "My circumstances haven't changed in the last 10 minutes. I'm the same person you just called a disgrace." My mother protested. "We were trying to help, darling." "By disowning me," I shot back. "You knew I ran a company, you just didn't care." Olivia, ever opportunistic, jumped in. "This is so exciting, Claire. With your tech and my fiancé's campaign, we could—" "No," I said, my voice steel. "MediConnect isn't your stepping stone." My father tried again. "The Bennett network could open doors, Claire." I laughed softly. "What doors are closed to a $250 million, 0 cents company with Google as a partner?" He had no answer. I stood, grabbing my purse. "I have a meeting tomorrow. I'm leaving." My mother gasped. "But dessert! We need to plan a proper celebration." "For the family legacy?" I asked. "A moment ago, I wasn't part of it." Margaret rose. "I'll take a ride, Claire." As we walked out, Olivia called. "We're hosting a gala for my fiancé's campaign. You should come." I turned, smiling. "My speaking fee for political events starts at $100,000, 0 cents. Margaret chuckled as we stepped into the cool night air, leaving the Bennett legacy to choke on their miscalculation. The drive to Margaret's Berkeley brownstone was quiet, the weight of the evening settling like fog. She broke the silence with a laugh. $100,000? 0 cents? Your mother nearly fainted." I grinned, the tension easing. "I don't charge to speak, but for Olivia's fiancé, I'd make an exception." We pulled up and I met her eyes. "You knew, didn't you, about MediConnect?" She smiled. "I read Wired, Claire. Your profile was in there months ago." I waited for you to tell me, I sighed. I kept it separate, for protection. Smart, she said, patting my hand. Your father and I grew up with the same rules, right schools, right clubs, right money. You broke free younger than I did. I drove to my Marin penthouse, the bay's lights glittering below, my phone lit up with texts, my father wanting to discuss investments, my mother inviting me to a gala, Ethan pitching a tech sector chat, Olivia begging for a campaign donation. I ignored them, calling Rachel instead. I'm so sorry, she said. I didn't know you were at dinner. Your timing was perfect, I replied. They're suddenly fascinated by my hobby, she laughed. What now? We focus, I said. IPO, hospitals, lives saved, family drama waits. The next morning, I walked into MediConnect's San Francisco office, a glass-walled beacon of purpose. My team 50, coders, designers, healthcare experts, greeted me with cheers, champagne ready. To Claire, Rachel toasted, who saw what healthcare could be when nobody else did. As we celebrated, a delivery arrived, a gaudy flower arrangement from my mother, the card reading, "So proud of our brilliant daughter." I stared at it, the irony bitter. Yesterday I was a disgrace. Today I was their pride. I had the flowers sent to UCSF's pediatric ward and turned to the work that mattered, saving lives, not egos. The San Francisco skyline glittered below my Marin County penthouse, a constellation of ambition that never slept. I stood on my balcony, the cool September breeze cutting through the silk of my robe, a glass of Pinot Noir in hand. The city hummed with possibility, but my mind was a battlefield, replaying the family dinner 2 nights ago. My father's cold declaration, "You're a disgrace, Claire," still echoed, now laced with the irony of their stunned faces when Rachel's call revealed my empire. MediConnect, my brainchild, was no longer the tech hobby they mocked. At $250 million, 0 cents pre-IPO, it was a force they couldn't ignore. Yet their sudden interest, my father's investment pitches, my mother's gala invites, Ethan's coffee proposals, Olivia's campaign ploys, felt like vultures circling, not family embracing. I sipped my wine, the bitterness lingering. My phone buzzed on the glass table behind me, Rachel's name flashing. "Claire, you awake?" Her voice crackled with urgency. "We've got a problem. A big one." I set the glass down, my pulse quickening. What's happened? Rachel's pause was heavy. TechCrunch got wind of the Sequoia deal. They're running a story in 6 hours unless we give an exclusive. But that's not the worst part. Someone's spreading rumors. MediConnect's AI is leaking patient data. Twitter's blowing up and our investors are spooked. My stomach dropped. A smear campaign? Now? On the eve of our IPO? Who's behind it? I asked, already suspecting the answer. No proof yet, Rachel said, but the timing smells like Nexus Health. They've been gunning for us since Stanford's pilot. Nexus, the rival firm backed by Ethan's mentor, Richard Langston, had already tried hacking our servers months ago. This felt personal. Get the PR team on it, I said. Draft a statement denying the leak. And, Rachel, find out who's feeding TechCrunch. I hung up, my mind racing. The dinner had exposed my success, but it had also painted a target on my back. The next morning, I walked into MediConnect's San Francisco office, a sleek glass fortress in the heart of the Mission District. My team, 50 coders, designers, and healthcare specialists, buzzed with nervous energy, their usual chatter replaced by tense whispers. Rachel met me at the elevator, her dark circles betraying a sleepless night. "The statement's out," she said, handing me a tablet with our press release. But Nexus doubled down. They're claiming our AI misdiagnosed patients, costing lives. My blood ran cold. "That's a lie," I said, scanning the headlines. "We've got 0 misdiagnoses in our trials." Rachel nodded. "I know, but the damage is done. Social media's a war zone, and our stock projections are wobbling. I clenched my jaw, the weight of 50,000 daily patient connections lives we'd saved. Now at risk. Call an emergency board meeting, I said, and get our lawyers on this. We're not letting Nexus bury us. The boardroom was a pressure cooker. Our 8 directors, seasoned tech veterans and healthcare execs, grilling me as if I were the one spreading lies. "Claire, this could tank the IPO," said Mark Torres, our grizzled CFO, his eyes narrowing. "Investors hate uncertainty." Laura Chen, my angel investor, leaned forward. "We need to hit back hard, Claire. Sue Nexus for defamation." I nodded, but my gut twisted. A lawsuit would escalate things, and Nexus had deeper pockets and dirtier tactics. As the meeting dragged on, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Sell MediConnect now, or we'll make sure it's worthless." My breath caught. I showed it to Rachel discreetly, her eyes widening. "Nexus?" she whispered. "Or someone closer," I murmured, my mind flashing to Ethan. His mentor's firm had too much to gain from my failure. I left the boardroom, my heels clicking against the polished concrete, and headed to my office. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Bay Bridge, but all I saw was the threat. Nexus wasn't just a competitor. They were a Goliath, backed by Langston's billions and a network that reached into my family's world. I'd faced danger before: the server hack, the shady investor demanding 60% equity, the ex-employee who leaked our beta code. But this was different. This was a coordinated attack, and I was alone in the crosshairs. My assistant, Priya, knocked. "Your brother's here," she said, her tone wary. "Says he was in the neighborhood." I sighed, knowing Ethan was never just in the neighborhood. 5 minutes, then send him up. Ethan sauntered in, his bespoke suit screaming privilege, his smile too polished. "Nice setup, sis," he said, eyeing the framed Wired article on my wall. "Very Silicon Valley chic." Watermark. "I'm not here to sell you anything," I said, my voice flat. "Good, then let's keep it that way." He shifted, his charm faltering. "Look, Claire, about the dinner. Dad feels awful, we all do. I thought we could talk, maybe explore some synergies with my firm." His words were smooth, but his eyes darted to my desk, where a stack of IPO documents sat. "Synergies?" I laughed, sharp and cold. "You mean leverage my company for your gain?" He flushed, but before he could respond, my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. "You can't hide forever. Step down or we expose your data breach." My heart stopped. Ethan was still talking, but I barely heard him, my mind screaming one question: was he involved? I cut him off. "Ethan, I have a meeting. Unless you're here to apologize for calling me a disgrace, we're done." He bristled, his businessman mask slipping. "You're making a mistake, Claire. The Bennett name could open doors for you." "I've opened my own doors," I snapped, "and I'll keep them locked to you." He left, his jaw tight, and I sank into my chair, the threats piling up like storm clouds. Nexus's smear campaign was gaining traction. Twitter was flooded with MediConnect fail hashtags, and our stock projections dipped 10%. I called Rachel. "Any leads on the leak source?" She sighed. "It's sophisticated. Someone with insider access. We're auditing all employee accounts now." I hung up, my paranoia spiking. Could it be someone on my team? Or worse, someone closer, like Ethan feeding Nexus intel to undermine me? That night, I drove to Aunt Margaret's Berkeley brownstone, needing her clarity. The road was dark, and my nerves were raw from the day's chaos. Halfway there, headlights glared in my rearview mirror. Too close, too steady. My pulse raced as the black SUV tailed me through winding streets, its tinted windows hiding the driver. I floored my Tesla, weaving through traffic, but the SUV matched my speed, its presence a silent threat. Nexus, I thought, my hands shaking on the wheel. They'd hacked us before, now they were escalating. I pulled into a crowded gas station, the SUV speeding past, but my heart didn't slow. This wasn't just business, it was personal, and someone wanted me scared. Margaret's cozy living room, cluttered with books and vintage tech manuals, felt like a sanctuary. I told her everything, the smear campaign, the threats, the tale. Her eyes, sharp behind her glasses, narrowed. "This reeks of Langston," she said. "He's been after your father's favor for years. Taking you down would be a feather in his cap." I swallowed hard. "You think Ethan's involved?" She sighed, her scarf slipping as she leaned forward. "Your brother's ambitious, Claire, and ambition blinds people to loyalty. Be careful." Her words hit like a blade. Ethan had the motive. Jealousy, rivalry, the need to prove himself to our father. But proof? I had none. The next day, the pressure mounted. A rival hospital chain backed by Nexus filed a class action lawsuit, alleging our AI biased patient care by prioritizing wealthier demographics. The claim was baseless, but the headlines were brutal. MediConnect accused of discriminatory AI practices. Our PR team worked overtime, but the damage spread like wildfire. Investors pulled $20 million 0 cents in commitments, and our board demanded answers. I stood before them, my voice steady despite the exhaustion gnawing at me. "Our AI is clean," I said, presenting data from 600 hospitals showing equitable outcomes. "This is Nexus playing dirty. We counter with transparency, publish every metric." The board agreed, but Mark Torres whispered as I left, "If this lawsuit sticks, you're out as CEO." That night, another threat arrived, this time an email to my personal account. "Resign by Friday or we release proof of your data breach." Attached was a screenshot of our internal database, patient records exposed. My knees buckled. This wasn't a bluff. They had access. I called Rachel, my voice shaking. "Lock down everything, someone's inside our system." She worked through the night, tracing the breach to a contractor we'd fired months ago, but the damage was done. The Wall Street Journal called for a comment, and I gave them the truth. We're investigating an unauthorized access attempt. No patient data was compromised. But the public didn't care about nuance. Our valuation wobbled, dipping to $230 million, 0 cents. The final blow came at a board meeting 3 days later. Mark Torres, flanked by 2 directors I barely trusted, proposed a vote to replace me as CEO. "Claire's leadership is under scrutiny," he said, his tone clinical. "This smear campaign and lawsuit suggest instability." I stared at him, my blood boiling. "Instability," I countered. "We've connected 50,000 patients daily, saved countless lives. This is Nexus's war, not my failure." Rachel backed me, presenting our impact metrics: 75% reduced wait times, 40% better specialist efficiency. But the room was tense. I noticed one director, a friend of Ethan's, texting discreetly. My paranoia flared. Was this a coup, orchestrated by my own brother? I fought back, rallying the board with a speech that burned from my core. "I built MediConnect from nothing," I said, my voice rising. "When Nexus hacked us, I rebuilt our systems overnight. When they threatened to bury us, I secured Sequoia's $75 million, 0 cents. I'm not stepping down because a rival plays dirty." Laura Chen clapped first, then others followed. The vote failed, but the damage lingered. Ethan's ally left the room, his face unreadable. I called Margaret that night, my voice raw. "I think Ethan's feeding Nexus," I said. She sighed. "Get proof, Claire. Without it, you're fighting shadows." The IPO loomed, a week away, and the threats didn't stop. Another SUV tailed me to a speaking event at a Bay Area high school, this time swerving dangerously close before vanishing. I gripped the podium, addressing a room of wide-eyed teens, my voice steady despite the fear. A 16-year-old girl approached after, her eyes mirroring my own at that age. "My parents say tech's not for girls like me," she said. "How do I keep going?" I knelt, my heart aching. "You define your own success," I told her. "Not them. Find people who see your fire and fuel it." Her nod, fierce and determined, reminded me why I fought. The smear campaign escalated, with Nexus leaking forged documents to Bloomberg, claiming Mediconnect's AI caused misdiagnoses. I countered on CNBC, presenting live data from 600 hospitals proving our accuracy. The public began to shift, tweets turning from Mediconnect fail to Claire fights back. Then came the bombshell. Rachel traced the breach to a server linked to Nexus, with an IP address tied to Ethan's firm. My hands shook as I read the report, my own brother betraying me for a cut of Langston's empire. I confronted him at his Palo Alto office, the glass walls reflecting his unease. "Did you sell me out?" I demanded. He paled, stammering. "Claire, I'd never—" "Don't lie," I cut in. "Your mentor's firm has my data. Explain that." He had no answer, his silence damning. The IPO day arrived and Mediconnect soared, hitting $500 million, 0 cents, my 55% stake worth $275 million, 0 cents. The team celebrated in our office, champagne flowing, but I felt hollow. Ethan's betrayal cut deeper than any threat. I launched the Bennett Foundation that week, a $30 million 0 cents fund for women in STEM, naming it to reclaim my legacy. At a gala in my Sausalito mansion, I toasted to "Success that saves lives, not egos," my team cheering, Margaret beaming, my family watching warily. Victoria, in a rare moment, approached. "Your speech at the Girls' Tech Conference was commanding," she said, her first real acknowledgement. Charles, after touring our office, admitted, "I underestimated you, Claire. This is bigger than I imagined." I stood on my rooftop later, the bay shimmering below. Mediconnect's UK expansion was approved, connecting thousands more lives. Ethan's role in the sabotage remained unproven, but I'd set boundaries, limiting family to neutral ground. Therapy with Dr. Harper helped me see I didn't need their validation, only my own. The girl from the high school sent me a letter thanking me for inspiring her to code. In her words, I saw my younger self, and in that moment, every threat, every betrayal felt worth it. I'd built something that mattered, and no one could take that away.